Hello, this is Chris Kobe with the League of Women Voters of Portland. You're watching the Video Voters Guide or listening to our podcast. We're here today to talk with candidates running in the May 17, 2022 primary election. All the candidates running for this position in the primary election were invited by the League to participate. We asked the candidates for the same office, the same questions. The number of questions asked is determined by the length of a candidate's answers. In this process, we are grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the League of Women Voters of Portland Education Fund, the Weiss Foundation, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me is Jonathan Polhemus, candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, Oregon District 3, which consists of Eastern Portland, Hood River, and Northern Clackamas County. Welcome, Mr. Polhemus.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are running for Congress.
I am an educator, and I'm running for office because I think Congress can do better than it currently is doing. I think that social liberalism is usually correct, and the United States remains a center-right nation to its detriment.
All right. Now let's turn to some of the issues we're talking about. What responsibility, if any, does Congress have for political, social, or environmental refugees from other countries? What role does the Congress have in the assimilation of refugees the United States accepts?
Congress does work with the president to set the limits of refugees. I do think that we should take in more refugees. Regarding assimilation, Congress definitely has authority to pass legislation to ease assimilation of refugees. I'm not aware of a specific need for it. I do want to say the immigration system in general should work much faster, and immigrants are a source of strength.
Okay, turning to another issue, what more specifically could the federal government do to mitigate the effects of climate change that are already occurring, such as wildfires, flooding, heat domes, drought, and more severe storms?
First, I'd like to say the good news is there's much more that the federal government can do to address the causes of climate change. I know you asked about the effects. Many of them are the responsibility of FEMA. FEMA does have specifically a mitigation directorate to implement a variety of programs like you listed there. So FEMA needs significantly more funding, and the federal government should also learn from past emergency response failures.
Turning to more of the electoral process, how would you assure that voting rights are secure for all?
So I don't think that I could assure that they were in the near term. It sounds like that would be a bit of an overpromise, but I certainly pledge to work in that direction. I support the Freedom to Vote Act. I support the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. I support the For the People Act. I do want to make it easier for people to vote, and I do want to expand voting rights. The problem is many Republicans are working in the opposite direction. The Brennan Center for Justice says that 19 states enacted 33 laws last year, making it more difficult to vote. So not only do I want to expand voting rights, I also want to motivate people who have the right to vote, but who typically don't vote.
You're listening to the Video Voter Guide interview and podcast of the Jonathan Polhemus, candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, Oregon District 3. Turning to another issue, please explain your position on requiring universal completed background checks for firearm sales and on the sale of assault weapons?
So there is too much gun violence in the United States, and I support measures that evidence shows are going to reduce gun violence. And it seems that the universal background checks is the best thing that we could do to reduce gun violence. So I absolutely support that. On the issue of an assault weapons ban, here we're talking about not the incidence of gun violence, but for mass shootings, assault weapons that are used in mass shootings result in more injuries. The problem potentially with an assault weapons ban, if it included confiscation of firearms, I would not support it.
And one more issue. Are you satisfied with the current regulation of campaign spending in federal elections? Why or why not? And if not, what reforms would you support?
No, I'm not satisfied with current regulation. There is too much money in politics, which can lead to corruption, as well as the appearance of corruption, which can lead to cynicism. So I support transparency, and that is why any potential conversation between myself and someone who wanted to donate to my campaign, that conversation would be recorded and then released to the public because, again, there is at this point far too much money in our political system.
Thank you, Mr. Polhemus. This concludes our video voters guide and podcast interview of Jonathan Polhemus, candidate for the United States House of Representatives, Oregon District 3. Election Day is Tuesday, May 17. Thank you for informing yourself about the candidates and for exercising your right to vote. For more information on the primary election and this race, visit our websites, vote411.org and lwvpdx.org. Thank you for your interest.